The national president of the Nigerian Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture, NASIMA, Dele Kelvin Oye, has been elected as the chairman of the Organized Private Sector of Nigeria, OPSN. Oye brings over 34 years of legal and business expertise to his role as chairman of the OPSN. His extensive background encompasses leadership positions within various sectors. In his new capacity, Oye will lead the OPSN, an umbrella organization composed of key stakeholders, including NASIMA, the Nigerian Employers Consultative Association, NECA, the National Association of Small and Medium Enterprises, and the National Association of Small-Scale Industries, and the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. Together, these organizations represent a significant portion of Nigeria's economic landscape. Economic experts believe that under Oye's guidance, the OPSN will push for robust policy advocacy, high-level stakeholder collaboration, and drive initiatives that will enhance Nigeria's competitive edge in the global market. Joining us now on this show is Dele Kelvin Oye, National President of the Nigerian Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture, NASIMA, and Chairman of the Organized Private Sector of Nigeria. Mr. Oye, thank you very much for joining us on the morning show.
Thank you very much.
And congratulations on your appointment as the Chairman of the Organized Private Sector of Nigeria, in addition to your role as President of NASIMA. Well, very quickly, yesterday, we started focusing on the outlook, economic outlook for 2025. And we had Abubakar Suleiman, Managing Director of Sterling Bank, on this program, who had a number of projections. But now we have you as the Chairman of the Organized Private Sector of Nigeria. What are your projections in terms of outlook for 2025? And what do you think that the Tinubu government is doing or not doing that is of concern to the organized private sector?
Well, if we are looking at the economic outlook, we start from the budget, the 2025 budget, which is the most significant input into how we will deal in the 2025. Currently, we are already worried, first of all, by the huge deficit in the budget, which is almost about 13 trillion naira. And just yesterday, we heard that the government was increasing the budget with another 4.5 trillion naira. The only happy news from there, even though we don't know the source, is that the money is going to be used to support Bank of Agri and Bank of Industry, which is one of what we'll be crying for in the private sector, that those institutions should be properly funded so that we can have reasonable single-digit loans to support the productive sector. Because what you've observed from the 2024 budget, most of the gains, like I said, has gone to the public sector, because you can see an increase in the...
If you could raise your voice a bit,
so you can see you can see the increase in the allocation has gone to the public sector in the 2024 budget. So we are seeing a deliberate action now by the government now to try and see how they can fund the private sector, especially the productive sector. If that money truly is going to go to the private sector through those institutions, it will naturally increase productivity, because this has been our cry. And we see ask for more. And more also for CBN to support by reducing the MPR rate, ensure the public sector there's a cap on their borrowing so that there will be more money investment fund. Because if this public sector pays back his loans that is currently owing, the interbank rate will fall, naturally the interest rate will fall with the support of the central bank. So this is our focus, and this will be a major catalyst. I've already told the government already that the government should not be worried about whether we are growing stringy growth. If you give us the investment funds, the reasonable, what we are asking for, reasonable price loans, this economy will move. And we should also resolve the issue in the tax bill, which has to do with the, because they've almost resolved everything with the governor's intervention. What is remaining now is for the free trade zone. And the free trade zone is also a major catalyst too for growth. If we make them as competitive as our neighboring countries, like Ghana and others, who are also competing with us, there's another easy way to grow the economy. Because they are a club, they are a worldwide club. They can move industry easily from any part to come to Nigeria. So these are some of the things we are looking at, and that the government should also do more stakeholders engagement before major decisions are taken. Because it doesn't look nice when you're on television, you see that the rules have been changed. Just like yesterday, we saw an announcement now that they want to be charging, the custom is going to be enforcing the 4% on FOB for goods coming to Nigeria. We are just coming out of reforms. The industries are just recovering. We are not fully recovered. We are just trying to start getting a little benefit of it. I would appeal either they suspend that now, or at least let it focus on people who are buying luxury goods. Anybody that is interested in production or want to use it for raw materials should not be saddled with that additional 4%. It used to be 1%, but under the 2023 Customs Act, it was changed to 4%. So these are what we're asking. We are just getting out to start something. So there shouldn't be additional cost to cost of production. After all, the president has said we should drive at 15% to reduce the inflation. So if all of us are going to get to that level, then the president, the public sector, the government should also support industries by not increasing or imposing more taxes. For all you know, the companies don't pay tax. They pass it at cost to the consumers.
Absolutely.
So this is what we are saying.
All right. In that interview that was referenced, that's the interview with the CEO of Sterling Bank, he had mentioned that taxes are the way to go, especially taxing profits. I'd like to get your perspective on this since you've touched on taxes. Because if we're going to look at inflation and taxes, inflation, as he's mentioned, is taxing the poor. But if we're going to look at it, perhaps more taxes, or companies should bear more taxes on their profit in order to raise revenue. What's your take on that? I say this because you've also complained about the ease of doing business under this administration, and I know that they're quite big. We have a secretariat that's dedicated to that. We have, we have PEBEC, the council that's dedicated to that. But the people who are doing business are in the best position to assess just how easy it is to do business in Nigeria. What are some of the things that you'd like implemented to see that even easier?
First of all, I want to congratulate our banks. They've been able to do very well without supporting us. You can see they hit the trillion mark in their last financials. But in a country where the bank is growing and the industry is falling, the government should ask why. You see, this is a mostly rent-seeking economy. How do the banks make so much profits? It's very easy. It's the high interest rate. Who is the highest payer of interest? It's the government. So if you look at the 2024 budget, almost a quarter of it is going to payment of interest. So we should all learn that as a banker, naturally, he will advocate for more taxes. What we are saying at the industrial level, as a businessman, if I produce any product, I pass the cost to the consumer. So, and tax is the highest form, inflation is the highest form of tax. It affects everyone. You cannot avoid it, especially if people on fixed income. They are not able to even survive. So I don't support the best way to sustainable way to get out of this problem. It's not by more taxes or by government imposing more sanctions. It's to create an environment where investment can free flowly. You have to make Nigeria more competitive than its neighbors. Make it a destination for business. Look at what is happening in Dubai. Everybody's going there. People are living in there for Dubai. Look at what is happening in the United Kingdom today. It's taxed. Everybody's living in London. So what you have to use the best practices. We cannot, there's also the ability to pay. If there's no ability to pay, you cannot continue to tax people out of existence. So it's very important. Taxation is not the only way, it's productivity. And the fuel for productivity is reasonable regulation, single-digit loan, and most importantly, increased stakeholders' engagement. If we have this, the government can relax and collect its taxes because the more profit we make, the government is the ultimate beneficiary. If I'm doing my tax, if I didn't make profit, you don't get anything from me. So it's important that you don't allow inflation again take everything. I can give you another example. If you look at most of the companies that have huge losses, they have huge losses from depreciation in the naira. Under our current tax law, you cannot remove it from your tax expenses. People like MTN, companies like MTN, DSTV, they were huge in over 100 billion. So these are things responsible for all our problems. It's inflation. The problem we have in power is inflation. If naira is well priced, you will see that all these are people complaining or asking for more wage increase, all will stop. So we need to make Nigeria a better place. The only way you can do this, government should not be the one fueling it through taxation or imposing new conditions. So that's what we are saying. Give us reasonable environment to do business. We are not, Nigerians are one of the highest entrepreneurs. You have seen it in every sector. We dominate Africa. So why can't we use the same thing for our country? So please, all we are appealing, government should focus on giving us these reasonable price loans and engage us first before taking decisions that affects us. That's what we're asking.
All right, it's a reasonable ask. It looks like this year and moving forward, we are going to be compounded with a new layer of problems as the geopolitics shift, specifically what's happening with, what will happen with global trade as we see Trump coming in and the number of things happening around the world. We've already seen it impact Nigeria by way of aid and that aid being stopped. So there's no telling what kind of changes are coming with regards to American policy shifting, especially with regards to trade and how the world will respond. How do you want to see the Nigerian government protect Nigerian businesses from the shocks that are imminent based off of what's already happening in the rest of the world?
We've already got our first shock with the closure of the USAID. And the government had to immediately provide for 4.1 billion for HIV. And a lot of our youths will be returned, and a lot of our people will be returned, sometimes unjustly. But what is important, there's a learning curve from this. First of all, we're also going to have a problem in the oil sector, because Trump's intention is to drill and also try to force OPEC, he has said it, and Saudi Arabia to bring down the price of oil. So which means under our current budget, we've already budgeted $75 per barrel. And just today in the newspaper, Punch newspaper, reported NUPRC, says it costs $40 to produce a barrel of oil in Nigeria, which means our spread is just about $35. That is very low margin. So in all this, what it means, first of all, is that Nigeria should really calibrate its budget. And that's why we're very worried the National Assembly should not necessarily start doing sectoral increases for most of these government MDAs who are not part of the productive sector. If you check most of the Nigerian MDAs, they have more staff that they need. Government need to cost these costs. The more money you spend on the productive sector will not grow any economy. Government is not a manufacturer. Government is not a producer. Government should be a catalyst for investment. It should provide regulation, provide reasonable environment for people to do business. So our hope is in Nigeria. I'm very proud to hear that Dangote Refinery is selling PMS or petrol to Aramco. So these are the kind of things government should encourage. You should encourage local production, make our local companies to be global players, and provide them all the support, all the politics of the domestic crude, whether they'll give him oil, they will not give him crude or not. All these things should not even get into the newspapers. These things should be resolved in the midnight, and so that people can actually see that government is behind private production. The idea of saying we prefer oil from another country, these are the kind of things Trump is going to use to hit us. When people prefer, look at the records. Between October and January this year, 5.1 trillion was spent in importing PMS. These people are the enemies of Nigeria. Dangote is busy exporting the same thing. We are now importing with dollar. The dollar that we don't have enough for our industries. So these import substitution industries are already in Nigeria. The price is falling. I don't know whether it's artificial or it's a price war. But what is important of the PMS, we must find a way to encourage our local production. All our local refineries should find out what the issues are. Are they getting sufficient? It's not just enough for NUPRC to just threaten that we withdraw export licenses from crude producers. You should actually make sure that this crude are delivered to these local refineries so that we can reduce our dependence on foreign imports and actually use that scarce dollar for our local production. So this is what we're asking for. Then you should also find a way that any person importing goods for production should not pay the same price with someone who is trying to buy luxury goods. If you do that, it will be a different Nigeria. This deficit we are complaining to, the government is complaining of 13.39 trillion in the current budget. We can cut it down by production, and that is the only sustainable way. And if you give us this, we challenge you as government. You see the production, and you see the profit we make, and you get more tax. It's not about increasing taxation. It's about making the company productive, make them make more profits, and the government too can share in it. So this is what I'm asking.
Okay, two quick things. I'd like you to comment briefly on President Tinubu approaching the Senate to increase the budget for fiscal year 2025 to over 50 trillion, citing the case that, oh, there will be more revenue from some places and we need to augment. What could be the likely impact of that? And then as President, Chairman of the organized private sector, what are your immediate priorities? I've heard you saying, oh, we need an enabling business environment, we need to increase productivity and all of that. But we have seen the same organized private sector in Nigeria in terms of its agenda, supporting, celebrating elections in the United States instead of focusing. I think this your OPSN once even did a fundraising for President Obama. Now, what are your own priorities? Now that you are in charge of NASIMA, you are in charge of the OPSN, are we going to have very soon the OPSN now organizing an event for Trump? Or you will have a different kind of focus?
You make me laugh because I'm not sure the OPSN was ever involved. I know what you're referring to. That was in the UK, when they had an event for raising funds, even for politics on that. They are not members of OPSN. The name is being used loosely by some people, and they are not. The OPSN is very clear. The membership is 5, and we are clearly identifiable. We have 5 independent bodies. We use the platform to join together to harmonize and first of all to protect the interests of our members. Very important, very focused on that, and to grow the economy of Nigeria, because we know that this is the only place we can call home. Those people, even government at times do make mistakes, call people OPSN. They are not. They know who we are. We are in some of their boards. They deal with us. So the OPSN has never been involved in organizing, and I don't think during this my tenure that we'll ever be involved in anything politics or be able to try to even, we don't, if you see my attitude now, it's not about making the government look bad. It's trying to let the government know that we can actually offer them a platform where we can grow this economy. The budget, as we already said, we already have a 13 trillion. I would have been happier if the subsequent money fund is used to pay down the deficit, so that our naira the industry can see that there is some lightening in this thing. Because our biggest driver is the value of the naira for inflation. Once naira stabilizes reasonably, which we are looking at, if possible, 1,000 or less, because which I think is actually the really realistic rate, you will see that most of the goods even our members are producing, which is stuck in the warehouse, Nigerians are not able to pay. There are over trillions of goods in warehouses of businesses. Some companies don't operate more than 3 days in a month, in a week, because there's no market for them. So all we are saying that we don't know where the money is coming from. We hope it's not from additional tax. But the reason, what they want to use it for, they are saying is for production. So I cannot reject if the thing is meant for production. They say Bank of Agric and BOI. So if they are going to strengthen those institutions, then we support it. But what is important is the government should do more. Because the capital budget of about 14 trillion is too small to grow the economy. If you have a 54 now, the new rate they are offering, if you have a 54 trillion and the capital budget is just ordinary 14 trillion, it's too small to act as a catalyst for growing. So government must reduce recurrent. Government needs to look inward. I don't want them to use the Trump style of taking down the federal government, but there are ways they can block leakages. And governments also need to appoint ambassadors. We are not, all the things we are doing in Nigeria, we have no representation anywhere. And that is affecting all of us. I've been to conferences, Nigeria is not at the table. They also need to have boards in these IMDAs. The involvement of private sector in these MDAs helps to make them to focus on their mandate. The only thing they are doing now, they are not doing trade facilitation, most of them. They are only interested in collecting money, tax. And taxation is nothing. Taxation without production, everybody will end up naked eventually. So you must find a way to continue to increase your production space. And that is what we're asking. We are ready to support government. We're ready to sit down with them. We have ideas of closing the gap in the budget. It's not everything I can say on the TV, but I know we have ideas where we can grow the economy and make it far better and meet our previous position in 2014, we were almost 560 GDP. So we're looking forward to working with the government, and we're quite happy with our Minister of Trade. We're working closely with the Ministry of Trade now. We are just a phone call away. We have had some incidences, but this has been resolved just on the phone call. We didn't even need to write letters. So this is the kind of thing we're asking. The CBN too has also started opening up, and we want more. But we want more support from CBN. The CBN, through his MPRO and capital adequacy for bank, must make it realistic, so that businesses can engage back. And also, most importantly, those of us that are currently owing, it's very expensive to maintain own loans. So you need to find a way to support the industries. So these are what we're asking, and we are ready. We challenge the government for the government to listen to us more and use our ideas to create policies and laws that will regulate businesses.
Fair enough. Are you?
Well, yeah, that's all we can take at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Dele Kelvin Oye, for joining us on the morning show.